I am here in Medjugorje, and what's your name?
Kieran.
And Kieran, where are you from?
Mullaban, South Armagh.
And you said you came 1984 the first time?
1984, myself and my now wife, we weren't married at the time,
Yeah.
and we came to Yugoslavia for 2 weeks sunny holidays.
Yeah.
So the first week was great, we had a terrific time on the beach and so forth.
Yeah.
But after that it got very
Yeah.
boring.
Yeah.
So my mother had told us about the beginnings in Medjugorje. So we decided we'd head out a wee car and we headed off the second week. Going to spend a day and a night in Medjugorje, check it out for ourselves and see what's all happening. So we did that, and we came across the mountains. The roads weren't good at that stage, and we came across the mountains, and it was like James Bond, in and out and round, and we were in the right hand lane, and there's big ravines.
Yeah.
So we eventually got here.
Yeah.
So arrived at St James's as we know it now, and gravel car park, nobody about. So a priest was walking across the car park, and we said we wanted to stay overnight.
Yeah.
And would it be possible for him to point us in the right direction where we could sleep or stay? So he had broken English, and he took us out. I don't remember his name, but he took us out the back of the chapel, St James's, and we walked through the tobacco fields to a local family, and obviously they spoke in their own language.
Yeah.
And they said, of course, they'd give us their bed. The couple had a family, and they gave us their bed, and they slept down in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So we got breakfast in the morning, and then went to Mass in St James's. So that was fine. We were walking about Medjugorje and loving it and falling in love with it. But we even fell more in love with it because the next thing people announced there was going to be an apparition. Apparition Hill, as we know it now, was closed off. The army had it closed off, and they said there was going to be an apparition in the church hall at the chapel. So then we went back to the house and we asked them, could we stay another night?
Yeah.
We firstly intended just to stay one night only and head back to our beach holiday.
Yeah.
So we asked, and they said of course, so we stayed for the apparition the following evening, and we went to the church hall, and we saw the children, the visionaries as they're known, running along and up the steps to the church hall, and there's about 100 people gathered around the steps. There's an Italian person at the top of the steps, and translating's the wrong word, but he was telling us what was happening on the loft. And the children were all went up on the loft, and he said they've all fallen to their knees and they're in a state of grace, or a state, they're fixated on something. So, boy, we really perked ourselves up, and then they carried up a sheet of plywood.
Yeah.
And they put this sheet of plywood in front of the children to block the view of whatever they were looking at. But the Italian then said no, it didn't affect them whatsoever. They were fixated on something and in a state, coma, whatever you would like to call it at the time, and you know, the sheet of plywood didn't block the view. So the next thing he announced, they were going to stick needles in the children. So he said there was no reaction from the children at all from the needle. So the goose pimples come out to me, and I said, there's something really, really happening here. And the children look so innocent, and we fell in love with Medjugorje, and we stayed the rest of the week then.
Wow.
So we had to head back on our last evening to get our connecting flight. I can't remember where we were staying, or what city or what beach we were on. The only thing I remember about the whole holiday was Medjugorje. We fell in love with it. So we headed back in this wee ladder that we had hired out, and across back the mountains, and we were way up in the mountains, and the Yellow Lake come on. We were running low on fuel, and we were up in these mountains on a big journey to make, so we could see the lights of a town away down below us. So I said to Anne that we'd get down to the town and get fuel. Down to the town. Meantime, a big storm brewed up. It was sky lighting up with lightning and torrential rain. The wipers wouldn't take it. And went down to the town, got down to the town from the mountains, and all garages had closed at 7:30, no fuel till the following morning. So then we decided we'd stay in a hotel overnight, get up early, get fuel, and head back for a connecting flight. We went into the hotel, and the guy behind the reception desk had broken English, and he understood we needed a room, and we gave him our passports, and he gave us the keys to the room. So we went down to the room, and it was sort of semi-below road level, and these veranda doors were flapping back and forward with the storm, and there was no way of latching it. So we got the chair against it and propped it up, and then the room wasn't clean or anything but clean. And Anne said, go up and see if he can give us another room. So we went back up. Meantime, there were 6 police had come into the hotel, and they were around a big round desk, and they had all passports laid out. It was a communist country at that stage, and they had all the passports laid out, and they were banging the buttons on the desk and banging, and it was a wee bit scary. The storm was outside. The police had the passports, banging the buttons, the whole thing. So I asked the guy behind the desk, had he got a phone? So I phoned home to my mother. There's no mobile, so I phoned home to my mother, and I said, just take down the name of this hotel and the town we were in at the time, which I can't recall now. So she says, there's something wrong, Kieran, and I said, no, nothing wrong. I was acting the brave fella, and yet inwardly I was a bit scared of the whole setup.
Yeah.
So I asked him for another room, and he said, no, there was no other rooms. And I went back down and got Anne, and we said, she says, what are we going to do? And I said, we're going to drive the car that runs out of petrol. So coming fresh from Medjugorje, we started the rosary when we got into the car. And we said 2 rosaries, and we stopped praying then, but the car still kept going, and we kept going, and I think we had about a 3-hour journey to go, and it took us right back to the hotel. Unbelievable, we couldn't. So we said, this is the power of Medjugorje, and we fell in love with the whole ethos of Medjugorje and the whole thing about Medjugorje, and we've come back numerous times since, and now I'm bringing small groups out from South Armagh to Medjugorje, and delighted to do it.
Mm-hmm. And you bring groups out. How can they join you if they want to come with you here to Medjugorje? You have a website, or?
No, I have no website. It's just word of mouth. We advertise it in our local parish bulletin.
What is your local parish name?
Mullaban, Fork Hill Parish. Fork Hill Parish.
Okay. And
Kieran Comiskey is the name, and anybody is welcome to come. And we have a terrific week.
Fantastic. And what is Medjugorje for you? You fell in love with what exactly?
Well, I fell in love with Medjugorje because after my first visit and the experience of the young children having the apparition, while I didn't see them, I just knew it was true and this is genuine. There was no doubt in my head. But as life went on for me, that's 40 years ago, as life went on for me, I need an MOT, a top-up, and Medjugorje does it for me because I just need that top-up. As the year goes on, I'll be totally honest, I wean, my faith weans a bit and I question things, and then next year I get the top-up again and away I go again. And that's what it is for me, an MOT.
Wow, amazing.
My religious MOT. And it just does it for me.
And what's your favorite spot here in Medjugorje?
Blue Cross.
The Blue Cross, why?
Blue Cross. The peacefulness of it, the tranquility of it, the experiences I've had with the sunsets, it just does it for me. Now, Medjugorje in general does it for me, but the Blue Cross is my special place.
And confession is so important in Medjugorje. What would you tell people when you bring them here? Why to go to confession and why not to be scared?
I'm not scared person of confession. I was, till I come to Medjugorje. I wouldn't practice reconciliation at home, and yet when I come to Medjugorje, I go to confession. And one short story I would like to tell about the confession is my wife, who had a much stronger faith than me, would say to me, go to confession. And about 4 or 5 trips ago, I didn't go to confession, and we were on the last day, and my wife said to me, did you go to confession? So I said no, and she says, go to confession. So I headed off to St. James's. It was the middle of the day, maybe 12, half 12, and I had my mind made up, I'm going to confession. And suddenly, there was no priests. And I was so disappointed. But just at that, Our Lady sent a priest come round the corner, an American priest, and I said, Father, could you hear my confession? And he said I could, or he would. So we sat down and we chatted for about 20 minutes, and I made what I call a great confession. I felt great after it. And as soon as finished, I just burst into tears. Floods of tears. Floods and floods of tears. And I just felt a relief off me. And what I tell the other travellers that come here to Medjugorje is, don't be like me, leave it to the last day, do it the first day, because if you're going to feel that good about it, you might as well have the full enjoyment of Medjugorje from day one, as opposed to leaving the last day and running to catch the late train, so to speak. So that was my experience of Medjugorje here, and the relief I got from going to confession.
Wow, beautiful. And our faith states, when we are in a state of grace, we can receive the Eucharist. It seems people don't understand anymore the Eucharist. Can you explain?
Well, I would be guilty of that because I wasn't in a state of grace, and yet I would receive the Eucharist. And, you know, I knew deep down it was wrong, but for me, reconciliation and confession wasn't that important. I would speak to God, pray to God, and tell him my sins, but I never physically went to confession. And then I started to feel guilty about it. And now I go to confession.
Wow, beautiful. And you know, a lot of people think that God the Father is an angry old man with a white beard. He waits for a mistake and he can send us to hell. And it's not true. It's a wrong teaching about
the wrong
God.
teaching.
Can you explain God the Father?
Well, God to me is all forgiven. We have an all forgiven God. And you know, the theory is to confess your sins. He is an
To
all forgiven
repent
God.
and come back.
Repent, confess your sins, do your penance, and we may sin again. We're not making ourselves out to be saints or anything like that, and we may sin again. I have one other short story that happened to me last year. I said the Blue Cross was the spot for me in Medjugorje. The spot for my wife is Apparition Hill, at the Shrine of Our Lady, where she first appeared in Apparition Hill. My wife didn't travel with me last year, so I had to. She wanted her petition. She wrote out a petition, and there's only one spot to leave it. There's many places in Medjugorje to leave petitions, but there was only one spot for her, and that was at the feet of Our Lady on Apparition Hill. So the group, we all went as a group one morning early up Apparition Hill, and of course I had forgot my wife's petition. So the week started to fly around, and it was coming near the end of our trip, and I still hadn't delivered the petition of my wife. So I got up early one morning, 4 o'clock, and headed up Apparition Hill. Headed up the hill, started the rosary at the bottom, and headed up the hill to deliver the petition, as I was instructed, but any good husband would do the same, and headed off, and that was it. When I got up to the top of Apparition Hill, I had 4 decades said, and I said to say the other decade of the rosary at Our Lady's Shrine. So I was walking over to Our Lady's Shrine, and there was 6 people about. It was very early in the morning, and there were 6 people about, but they were all spread out quite a distance from the shrine. But there was one man had a bright red check shirt. I noticed him because of his shirt, and only because of his shirt, and he was quite a distance away. So I went up to the shrine, got the petition delivered, and I started to say the last decade of the rosary. Whenever, just beside me, the red shirt appeared. The man was, I don't know how he got to me so quick. So he asked me, do you speak English? And I said, I do. He says, hold out your hand. And I held out my hand. He says, I have a pair of rosary beads for you. So I said, no, I have my own rosary beads. I've got a pair. I had them in my own rosary beads in my hand. No, he says, these are meant for you. So I said, look, I have a pair of rosary. No, he says, I'm a priest. He was in civvies. He says, I'm a priest. These rosary beads are meant for you. So I took the rosary beads, not knowing what cause they were for or who they were for, whether for me, whether for somebody else. But we got back home, and I was telling this person back home about the story about how I got these rosary beads. And he said to me, could I see them? Now, this chap wouldn't be a mass goer, but I was telling the stories of Medjugorje, and when I go back to Ireland, I'll be full of it, and telling people about their experiences and different things. So I was telling this fella about the rosary beads, and he said, could he see them? And I said, of course you could. So I went upstairs and got the rosary beads and gave him the rosary beads, and he says, could I keep them? I said, of course you can keep them. So I then knew the destiny of the rosary beads, why I was giving them on the mountain. They were to go to a better home, and I gave them the rosary beads.
Oh, so beautiful. And what is the power of the rosary prayer? Pater Pio says the weapon of our times, to pray the rosary.
Well, the whole, Our Lady's whole message is pray the rosary, that wars can be averted by praying the rosary. And that is so true. So rosary is the weapon. And we try to say the rosary in our house every night now. There's nights, some nights it doesn't happen, but overall, over the 365 days, we make our best attempts to say the rosary.
And you made the experience that when you pray the rosary with your wife,
Yes.
marriage is more beautiful. As Patrick and Nancy say, they pray the rosary together, and the marriage was lifted to another level.
Well, it definitely helps our marriage, and I can't speak for anybody else, but it helps our relationship. It helps our whole
The family prays together, stays
days
together.
together, and it just helps your whole life in general.
In which way does it help?
Just you feel better when you've said it. It's so easy not to say it,
Yeah.
And there is nights that I would opt out, but in general, you feel much better and it's like going to a wake. You can make excuses not to go to it, but when you do go to it, you feel better for having done it.
Yeah.
So be the rosary that it's a big plus factor.
And what would you tell people? A lot of people search for a happy marriage. Is there a secret, or what would you tell people, younger people, as an advice?
Oh, I'm the wrong one to give advice on a happy marriage. But I've been lucky in life, and lucky with my wife, and my wife has great faith, much stronger faith than I, but she keeps me on the right track too. So I'm very lucky in life.
That's beautiful. I think that's it too. If you have a Catholic wife, she keeps you, one another keeps on the right track. That's so beautiful what you say. And did you knew that when you met your wife, this woman is from God for me?
Oh yes, first time. First time.
You knew it in
I
the
knew
heart.
it.
It's a
I knew
knowing
it.
in the heart.
I knew it.
Beautiful. And our faith is a personal relationship with Christ. And how can people have that personal relationship? You see, have that peace, that joy. How can they have that?
Well, I haven't got that. I have peace, but I haven't got. I'm still searching. And I shouldn't be, but I would be jealous of people that have that ultimate relationship with Christ. And I'm still searching for that myself.
Yes, we are all a work in progress. And do you make also that experience when you live in the intention, thy will be done in my life, as said in Our Father, that you're more in peace, more in joy, more calm?
Yes, definitely.
Same.
Yeah.
A lot of people say that. Me too.
Yeah.
Thy will be done. And you made the experience when challenges come, that it's a hint by God, problems, to just hand it over to Him. And you made the experience when you hand it over, when you surrender it, that everything becomes easier, the solutions come.
Well, I'm especially good at praying if I have a problem. That I pray very, very earnestly and very truthfully, as we all do. It's all we have at the end of the day when trouble hits your door, and I have no trouble. But just some wee problem when you want to get over, you need help with, when you talk to Him,
He helps.
He delivers.
It's a living God
Oh, it's a living God.
who is with us all the time.
Definitely.
And at the end, what would you tell people? Why come to Medjugorje one time?
Come and experience it for yourself. Everybody gets something out of Medjugorje. Some people get big achievements, other people get little achievements, but everybody goes home a better person. And that's from my own experience and from pilgrims that come out here to Medjugorje, and the people you meet while you're here, and the stories they have and the troubles they have makes your troubles seem so minimalistic. You know, it's not trouble at all. So you meet great people, and it's just a lovely place, and it's a wee piece of heaven on earth, as a lot of people describe it, as a small part of heaven on earth.
And you came 1984. You saw all the evolution of this place. Did the spirit change? Did it change?
Oh, it's changed drastically. It had to change. The hundreds of thousands of pilgrims and millions of pilgrims that are coming here need accommodation. They need food outlets, you know, and so forth. So it had to change. Life doesn't stand still anywhere, and if you're going to have that amount of people coming to your small town, it's got to expand. So while you mightn't be always in agreement, the simplicity was the first thing that hit us in '84. It was so simplistic, you know, just the tobacco fields running right up to the chapel. The people were lovely. It was just a lovely place, and yet there was nothing here, and yet everything was here at the same time. We now know, but there was nothing here at all. Now it's built up. Yes, for and against, but it has to happen. You have to accommodate for the pilgrims. Where are they going to stay? Where are they going to stay? Those people give us their bed that night. And for that week.
Wow,
It was supposed to be the first night, and then turned out to be the whole week. So where people have to stay.
Yeah. Wow, what can I say? And thank you for the beautiful interview.
Not at all, not at all. Glad to give it.